All right, thanks everybody for joining us here this Friday afternoon. My name is Eric Altman, sales engineer with Vodia Networks, and we're going to run through a little presentation about how to be a hosted PBX provider, a successful hosted PBX provider. And run through this. I will open it up for questions at the end, so just going to run through this slide presentation. So first, let me not move the mouse too quick. So our agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about Vodia Networks, a little background. Hosted VoIP services is the future. I think everyone on this call would agree with that. So we're going to talk about how that's going to be your future as well. Talk about the Vodia PBX and ecosystem, hosting this PBX in the cloud for your customers, where you're doing the hosting. And we'll also talk about a free 30-day trial or a request for an NFR, not for resale systems, so that you can actually test the system and see what you think. So a little bit about us. Vodia Networks, privately owned. It's a US-based company. We're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. Some of you may know our background. Originally, we had the PBX and SIP PBX. That was about 10, 11 years ago, which eventually kind of transformed into the SNOM-1. And then from SNOM-1, we got to the Vodia IP-PBX, which has been running now for about 5 years. Specializing in PBX software for enterprise and service provider customers. And our product here is built from the ground up. All product development is done in-house. So that's definitely different than a lot of our competitors. So everything is done here. We have partners around the world, US, Canada, Europe, South Africa, China, and Australia, and continuously growing those as well. Over 100 value-added resellers and managed service providers are using Vodia worldwide, and we have well over 100,000 hosted end users on the Vodia platform. Why does Vodia have the most partner-friendly PBX platform? Just to run through some of these things, we're talking about zero startup costs, so nothing to get into this. A lot of our competitors will force you to purchase, a platform where we don't do that. There's nothing for you to get into this. Basically, server in the cloud, and then load up the software, and you're good to go. Low infrastructure costs because of the fact that this is hosted through the cloud. Linear pricing. True plug and play as far as provisioning of the phones. Basically, you're just plugging that in, and that phone's coming up and ready to go. Bring your own device. We will work with any SIP phone. There are some phones that we work best with as far as provisioning them and all, and buttons. But any SIP phone is going to work on our platform. And you have the choice of SIP trunks, so you can leverage any partnerships that you might have with SIP trunk providers to provide the SIP trunks for your customers. This is a full white label solution, so you can put your logos on there, banners, everything can look like it's your product. Vodia doesn't show up anywhere. It would be all your name. This bullet, all standard and advanced features included, that's a big one. That means, in the hosted environment where your customers are paying X per month per user, they're getting all the features. So there's no nickel and diming of features here. If you're hosting that for them, they're getting every feature for that one price. WebRTC, we're embracing the WebRTC browser calling. So basically, you can open up a Chrome session, make calls through your browser. It's kind of like a soft phone, but it's using your browser as the soft phone. We can even do multiple calls with WebRTC. So that's a big buzzword right now in the industry, and we're right on the forefront of that. We do voicemail to email, fax, and texting. The texting we do through a third party. Voicemail and fax to email can be done just locally right in there. As far as click to call, a couple of things. Well, there's the WebRTC Chrome extension means that you could actually highlight, just run your mouse over a number in a web page, and it'll come up with a couple of icons allowing you to make that call directly from the browser, or to just use your phone to make the call if you're sitting right next to that. So you've got a Chrome extension that you can add in there for free, which allows you to call right from your browser any phone number that you see just by running your mouse over it. And then we also give you a way to set up a button on your own website where your customers could call in. They just click, and they can actually call you directly right through your website. We do have an Android app. At one point, we may have an iPhone app if they embrace WebRTC. Currently, iPhones don't, so that's why we don't have that. But you can certainly get a SIP soft phone and use that on your iPhone and open up the user portal right through a web page. Advanced security, SRTP, ZRTP, TLS, we got it all. Definitely security is a big thing for us, and we're a high end on that. And then the whole idea of hosting means multi-tenancy. So you basically have multi-tenant platform here where you can just add new domains for your new customers. You've got the one server in the cloud, basically covering many customers, many tenants, right, natively built into the software. These are just some of our top customers and organizations that use Vodia PBX. I won't read them all. You can take a look at them here, but just to highlight a few things like City of Miami, so we've got some government there, the U.S. Army, Chicago Public Schools, VoiceSpring, HexaNet. I mean, a lot of top organizations using Vodia PBX, and this list is growing daily. As far as phones and soft phones, like I just mentioned, if it's a SIP phone, it'll work on our platform. The phones you're looking at here are some of the phones that we actually use. Let's allow this person. As far as provisioning, as far as setting up buttons, things like that, these phones are the ones that we have in the software with documentation on provisioning them and everything that you would need to know. So some top names as far as phones go, but if it's a SIP phone, we can work with it. And also the soft phones, so you can see some of the soft phones over here on the right-hand side. So we'll work with those as well. Although with the WebRTC, you don't necessarily need a soft phone. You can just do it right through the browser. Integrations, so we have many integrations. Our FreshBooks integration allows you to bill your customers, so that's a big one. Again, we talked about WebRTC, Salesforce, so we have an integration with CRMs, Salesforce being one of them. All the major cloud service providers, Google, AWS, Azure, we're integrated with all of them, as well as Google Contacts and Microsoft Link. SIP trunks, I mean, we've got a list built into the software, a drop down to pick your SIP trunk provider that's well over 50 different SIP trunk providers. Like you can see down here, many more, new ones added regularly upon request. So if you're working with certain SIP providers that are not on our list, let us know who they are. We can set up an interop test and add them to the list. So definitely lots of choices as far as your trunking goes. So hosting PBX in the cloud is pretty simple. I mean, first of all, you're going to choose a hosting service. That could be AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. It could also be your own server just sitting in a data center. So you make that decision, but you've basically got something in the cloud, internet connected. Then you're going to want to choose your SIP trunks. Again, if you have any providers that you're currently working with, you can use them. If not, we can certainly make some suggestions as far as which SIP trunks you might want to use in here. Download and install the service in the cloud. Then go ahead and customize it. Again, this is fully white labelable, so you can add your logo, background. You can even change the button colors, the check marks. Everything is customizable in here. Provision the IP phones on the PBX, and again, in a lot of cases, that's no touch at all. It's just plugging the thing in. So you get everything set up, and provisioning can be very quickly. And then use those IP phones, a WebRTC, a soft phone with your iOS device or the Android app, and you're basically good to go. You've got everything set up. So it's just the software, the phones, and the trunks. Why hosting is better? Again, we talk about, low startup costs. I mean, you could say zero startup costs, but, low startup costs as far as establishing that server in the cloud. Reduce maintenance costs. You don't have a box out there. This is running in the cloud 24/7, and your maintenance goes down as far as for your customers. You've got full scalability, flexibility, again, because it's in the cloud. Built-in mobility features for remote workers. So the Android app, a virtual assistant for calling in and transferring calls, things like that. You do have a huge savings on long distance calling as well as intercompany communication. So, using SIP trunks, you're going to be saving money there as well as intercompany. It's basically 4-digit dialing across the cloud, no charges for that. Business continuity, as far as that, we're talking about being able to fail over, so having a second server isn't a bad idea. And then there are settings in the software to set that up so that that first primary server can run, the secondary server can look to see if there's any failures, and in the case of a failure, go ahead and move the service over to the secondary server, and in some cases have practically no downtime in getting to that secondary server. Add increased productivity. Again, everything's there on your screen in the cloud. Makes it much easier than having a box in the back room. However, if the customer chooses to have a box on the premises, we can do that as well. And that's simple on our website. Once you're a registered reseller, you can go in, choose either a standard or a premium bundle. A bundle is going to include a certain amount of extensions, auto attendants, potentially hunt groups, agents, things like that. So you can make the choice whether you're just looking for a standard or a premium bundle where you'll have more of those. And then as far as maintenance on that, and when we talk about maintenance, we're really talking about updates, kind of like a subscription type of thing, where for 20% of that bundle price, if you're willing to pay that, then when we come up with a new version, you're getting that at no additional charge. So there's no extra costs involved there. As far as phones, always a choice, whether it's hosted or CPE, is to use existing IP phones if they have them. Whether it's one of those on that list that you saw before or not, if it's a SIP phone, we can work with it. So if it's an existing phone, obviously you can save your customer some money in buying phones. You still have the white labeling option, whether it's CPE or hosted, so you can still put your logo on there and still have it as your software. And the mobility features, things like twinning, where we can ring your extension, your desk phone, and your cell phone at the same time. Fixed mobile convergence, where you could walk in with your cell phone and just transfer that right onto your desk phone, or vice versa. Soft phones, as far as mobile soft phones, you can download soft phones and use them on your cell phone. And of course, that Android app that we're talking about as well. And the Android app, by the way, is a full replica of the user portal. So it's basically the same exact thing. Nobody has to learn anything different. They will be using the user portal on their desktop, and then they can use the Android app the same exact way. So automatic deployment and maintenance, in this case, we can choose any OS. So we will work on Windows, Linux, Macs, virtual machines, and it's the same deployment whether you're doing this on-premise or you're doing it hosted. So either way, you're loading the software in the same way. It's one binary, 100% developed by Vodia, so no external unsecured modules. That's a big plus. Any of you out there who have, worked with others who do have some, external modules, it could potentially cause some issues. On that next one, the no dependencies, upgrades can be an issue when you're relying on third parties, because if they upgrade their software, we have to change ours. We change ours, they potentially have to change theirs. None of that even comes into play because it's 100% developed by Vodia. So you're going to have less problems with malware or any type of security issues. And this is a high performance, high reliability piece of software with military grade encryption. Like I said, can't stress that enough. We're all about the security and high reliability. That's necessary in business today. So just a quick slide. There are redundancy settings in there. Like I mentioned earlier, you basically have the ability to have a second server out there and to set it up so that the secondary server will constantly poll the primary server to see if there are any failures. If it notices not just one failure, but maybe 3 or 4, because sometimes it may not be a failure or a fatal failure. So it will check again in intervals that you define. And then if it does see multiple failures, it can go ahead and just switch it over to the secondary server, making that the primary at that point. And we're available to support you, absolutely. As far as pre-sales go, we're on your side for technical help. We're on your side for sales help as well. So in the pre-sales mode, let us know what you're working on. We're happy to get on the phone. We're happy to do a webinar like we're doing here to demonstrate the user portal, the admin, anything that you'd like us to get on there and do, we can do. We can come out there and join you on your meetings as well. So, we want to make sure that not only is it all represented well, but in a lot of cases, your customers will benefit from knowing that the quote unquote manufacturer is joining in on the meeting as well. So we'll be there in any pre-sales fashion and in sales fashion. As far as sales goes too, we're going to a few trade shows this year. So we've been to a couple. We're going to go to some more coming up this summer, and we will share those leads from the trade shows. So as we get leads in certain areas, depending on where you are, we can share those leads out with you as well. Marketing wise, again, you've got the white labeling solution, but we've got flyers and banners as well that we can help you with if you need any help in your own marketing of our products. And there's a high margin opportunity here. The cost is very low compared to our competitors because you would actually be doing the hosting and all, so that leaves a lot of room for a high margin. And if you are making those sales, I mean, we will give you higher discounts based on your sales. So that's your incentive to bring on more customers. You're going to pay less. Your piece of the pie. So profit can be made on every part of the phone system, the trunks, the phones, the software itself. Custom plans can be created. So the idea here, again, differing from our competition, is they go out there and say, hey, $30 a month, $35 a month, we're going to give you everything and you're all set. And that's it. And you're kind of handing your customers over to them in that case. What we're saying is you're going to do the hosting. And if you're doing the hosting, then again, you can leverage your partnerships with any phone vendors, with any SIP trunk providers, get the best deals there, and then pass them on to your customers, taking your piece of the pie. So really, there's multiple places to make money here and to put your margin on top of what you're paying. Like I mentioned before, more extensions leads to reduced PBX price per extension. So you start cranking out the sales, and we'll help you out with better discounts, and it'll be cheaper for you to buy this, which again increases your margin even more. Plans could range from $10 to $50 based on whether they have phones or we're providing those phones, number of minutes they're using, the trunking, and all of that. But a typical plan could be in the neighborhood of about $30 a month, with an IP phone and a trunk, and potentially a profit of 15. So, kind of 100% on that. If you're paying 15, charging 30. And of course, that's subject to the phone and the trunk prices that you may be getting. Why does Vodia PBX make business sense? It's built by an industry veteran and successful entrepreneur. So that's always good to know. One of the lead developers as well. So this is a very rock solid system. Again, like I was just mentioning, the freedom to build your own custom plans using any IP phones or SIP phones, any SIP trunks. So you decide on that and build your own plan there. No upfront investment. We'll give you an offer resale system as well as a 30-day free trial if you'd like to try this out before buying or selling it. Technical training, there's no charge for that. We can do it online. We can come out there and do it in person if need be. So you let us know, but we want to make sure that everybody who's out there selling it has the technical training, or out there installing it, and setting it up and programming it, that they have the right training. This is a big one. I mean, grow as you wish. No mandatory quarterly or annual sales targets. So I've been in this business a long time, and most of the providers out there, if you don't hit your targets, you lose your discounts. You may even lose your ability to resell for that company. So we don't do any of that. We only give you the good stuff. So we don't take anything away if you're not selling. But if you do start selling, flexible pricing based on performance. So when we see that performance, we're going to help you out in that sense, but we're not going to take anything away from you. So obviously, we want people out there who want to grow and want to, be successful, and we'll help you in doing that. But if your business model is not such that you're going to be putting 1,000 extensions on every month, that's fine. We're not going to give you any hard time for that. So again, pricing is going to be based on performance as you move up, and we have very strong technical and sales support. So you can contact us via email, chat, calling us. We've got great support crew, sales engineers, web developers, marketing guys. We got it all. So, feel free to contact us for any help that you need in any of those places. And if you're interested in testing this out, just send us an email, sales@vodia.com. Let us know. We can get you a 30-day trial license key. You go ahead and hook up a phone and a trunk to that, and you can go to the races. Feel free to call us again with any questions. There's our number on the screen for you. And that was pretty much it of what I had here today. I'll go ahead and unmute for questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them, or you can also do it in the chat window. Anybody have anything out there? All right. Well, thank everybody for joining today. Hopefully this was beneficial and educational for you. Again, if you have any other questions, call that number on the screen. Again, my name's Eric. I'm at extension 451. You can come directly to me. That's going to pretty much cover it. I saw somebody just joined as we're finishing up, but if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and make a recording on here. And this way, we'll send that recording out upon request.